Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host here with my good buddy Blake Siebers. Siebes, how are you today?
Good. Good morning.
Nice. We've got the Titan tactician here, Matthew Sahag, everybody's favorite pundit.
Everybody.
And then our special guest, Lance Rozeboom, who does not have a nickname at this point and did not play high school soccer, so we can't even tease him about that. But Lance, super good to see you as always, and thanks for taking the time on this fine morning.
Grateful to be here, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to see all of you. Thank you for having me.
Here's the plug for the YouTube. So, Ben, we were texting about this a while ago. Lance came on the pod back
We might have
a couple
to dig that
years
one
ago,
up.
and
Yeah, it was a while.
you looked quite a bit younger
I
back
did.
in the day.
I did.
A couple years ago. I saw
did.
that.
I
It
did.
was
Really?
good.
Yeah.
Is he clean shaven? Or you just had like
He
five
was
less
clean
kids?
shaven.
I was clean
and
shaven. I had a few
not
less
as many.
kids. I think at that point I might have had 3. Now there's 5.
Good count.
So it's really aged me. I got the RFA, the groups that I'm coaching.
You've got a lot of kids these days.
Got a lot of kids. Got a lot of kids. So yeah, I'm aging a little bit, but still the hair's still there. It's still good. So
Well, we always love it when Iowa boys come back to town. You've had a really a career, I would say, for Iowa guys, second to none. Over you spent probably 15 years playing at a really high level. Maybe just let's talk about what you're doing now, because I think that's the kind of most unique thing about you. Although you have a lot of unique things, but this club that you started here in town is totally different. It's totally against the grain, and we love it because it's a bit of a disruptor. But it's also the stuff you're doing with the kids is awesome. I've seen the boys play, and it's pretty. I mean, it's impressive, genuinely.
yeah, no, we're blessed to have good players and we have good people around us. But yeah, so RFA Futbol Academy. I started it technically 3 years ago, but it's kind of been in the making for 4 or 5 years. The idea behind it is this: like I have 5 sons. Like God's given me 5 sons. Been very blessed, and I just look at them and I wanted to be the one that had a major hand in their development as soccer players. And so, I was gone from Iowa for, like you said, I was gone actually for 15 years. So I played professionally for 10 years. I played at the University of New Mexico. Rest in peace, the soccer program there. But it was a top 25, top 15 program at the time when I was there, and so I was out of the Iowa market for a long time. I mean, I played, West Coast, East Coast, wherever it was. So I came back, and for better or for worse, it's the Iowa soccer landscape, the landscape in general. Honestly, to be fair, the landscape around the country has changed significantly. Different leagues popping up everywhere, and I looked at it and I said, I want to be the one that kind of helps my sons develop. And from there, I have ended up moving 2 doors down from a marketing lady that I have, RBI Marketing. I'll give a shout out to Rachel there. And we just kind of came up with this idea, how do you want to do it? And the initial plan was, not even plan, the discussion was, do you want to start private group training, individual training, or do you want to kind of have it be team-based? And I decided, just knowing myself, that I would have a hard time letting, the group of players that I had kind of just go on their own to a different place where I couldn't have any hand in their development. And so that's kind of how RFA came about, and then the relationships that we have with Blake and with Joe and with Jess Ritchie, all guys that have Paul Harvey, all guys that have those 3 all played at Drake, like Blake, Joe, Jess, all played at a high level at Drake, and we just kind of got together and I just said, hey, we have a couple good groups of players, we have some good players here, let's put them together. And let's see if we can get them playing at a high level. And up to this point, we've been very blessed. We've been very blessed. We've had some success, and we have good players and good parents. So that's kind of...
I love your humility, Lance, but as blessed as you are, and we know you're very blessed, you work really hard. Yeah. And you guys do things, from what I can tell, the right way. talk to me just real quick. You mentioned being away for as long as you were. How many different professional coaches did you play for outside after New Mexico in your professional career?
Probably about, head coaches, probably 5 to 6, right? You're talking assistant, plenty of assistant coaches.
A million assistants.
Yeah, tons of assistants. But even then, so even going deeper, like I thinking about it the other day, I played with players that have played in La Liga. I played with players that have played in the English Premier League. I played with players that played in Bundesliga, pretty much the Serie A, all the major leagues. And so you learn from those guys who played at the highest level, and then you learn from obviously the coaches that coached as well, like Paul Dalglish, Kenny Dalglish's son. He had a big hand in. He was my head coach about 3 different places professionally, so I learned a lot from him. And you take away a lot of things and from those places. And I think the biggest thing, when I came back, the biggest thing, and I'll touch on it, is kind of the mentality of the player. And the mentality of the player, and I'm to try to be as respectful as I can, but quite frankly, the mentality of the player, from what I saw in Iowa, and even now, it's just weak. It's a bit weak. And what I mean by that is, are you willing to run as hard as you can the entire game? Are you willing to get into challenges that are uncomfortable? Are you willing to go ask for the ball and be brave when adversity does hit, when you lose a game, or when you're playing a really good team from Illinois, Missouri? How do you respond to that? And I think development as far as footwork, technique, all these things has gotten probably better.
It's definitely gotten better.
It definitely gotten better. But all these, I can do an L, can do a V. Yeah, you can do these things, right? You can do these things, but so can players in Illinois, so can players in Missouri, and they can probably do it at a higher level.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
Well, and everyone can do it now.
And
You're being taught how to do it.
You're being taught how to do it. So there's things that separate.
When did you learn those things? Like Blake and I joke about this. We learned how to juggle when we were like U11, U12, and it was like how many thigh juggles you could get.
Yeah.
Nobody had taught. Like nobody had even introduced the concept to us.
So yeah, no.
But then you sit Blake's kid can juggle like 1,000 times and like.
Yeah.
Now I would love to see a little Brody Blake matchup like at age 12 or 13 because I think that Blake would just punt his son, off the field. But Brody might get a couple little good touches in.
Brody, I love Brody.
But going back to the mentality thing, I think it's just
go back to that. I feel like we were getting somewhere good before you interrupted.
That's my.
No, I think now that players do have these resources and they can watch it. Like soccer's easier to watch now. Just is, and that's great. That's fantastic. It's on all the time. It's on everywhere.
You can watch on YouTube.
You can, yeah. So they have everything. They have everything that they need, right? But it is these kids, and we live it. I'm going to say blessed. We're so blessed to live in America, okay? But we have this spoiled, entitled mentality that like coach yelled at me and. I don't like coach anymore, and I'm just going to move my kid, and my kid's going to go to a different club, and maybe that team will be good, and maybe that coach will be nicer to my kid, and just all you're doing is just making that player when he faces adversity, you're just making him quit. You're just making him quit. You're making him give up. You can't this is what I try to, and we all know this. Okay, we're all grown men. We all know this. Life is hard. Okay, life is full of adversity. And we have boys. We don't have a girls program yet. I tried to, girls director. He just ignored me. So we have, but
girls director?
these are all.
Is he the girls director?
So I don't have one.
Keep going.
I don't have one. I don't have
Keep
one.
going because again, we're somewhere good here, man.
And so these boys are all going to be men someday, and a lot of them are going to have families that they're going to need to lead, and they need to be put in adverse situations. They need to be demanded of. That's why we hold them to high standards.
No matter what they do in life.
No matter what they do. That's no matter what they do. They're going to be a doctor? Great. Fantastic. Well, you can't give up when you're going through school. If you want to be a good doctor, you can't give up. You're going to have to study hard. You're going to have to study for hours and hours and hours and hours. Whatever you do, whatever the boys do.
So start real quick with your standards and values. Like where you guys because I've just been perusing your website and it's like, well, first of all, I read all these things and I'm like, Lance leads by example in all these standards and values. They're all things that you exemplify.
You try to, and
Well,
when you try to, you're always
I'm sure you've got it memorized.
Yeah, well, gosh, I have to look through them again. But well, here's the thing, though. The who we are. When I was starting this, you have to have an identity. You have to give the boys an identity. Okay, so I had to think about who I am. What do I want to see on the field? What do I want to watch? What do parents want to watch? Okay, so pass and move. We say it constantly. Pass and move. Just very basic, right? Very basic. I make sure if I say pass, all the boys yell move. Okay. When we lose the ball, I always ask, when we lose the ball, what does the nearest guy do? We hunt it, okay? We hunt it back, okay? So those are very basic things that help to give them an identity on the field right there. Now, also with that, you have joy, creativity, because especially when they're all around, but especially when they're young, they need to learn how to, we talked about the L's and the V's, we joke about that, but they need to be able to control the ball. They need to be able to master the ball. They need to have good technique. They need all of these things. So we talk about joy and creativity, and we want you to be brave in the right moments, in the attacking half, taking players on, because we need it. If we want the ball, we ultimately need every single player, as many players as we can on the field to be able to keep the ball for us, right?
How much do you guys talk about leadership?
Well, servant leadership is on there, and I talk about it often. I just talked about, I'll say just how we spoke there. I mean, I'll talk that they're going to have to lead their family someday. They're going to have to. So we talk about it consistently. They're going to have to be leaders in society. They're going to have to be leaders at their schools. So we talk about it all the time because we're not trying to develop weak boys. We're trying to develop strong boys that become strong men. And then the values part of it, I'll be pretty honest. I derive a lot of that from, a lot of them are universal values, but my faith, right? So my faith, so servant leadership.
Yeah, but I like that universal values, right?
Yeah. So but that's derived largely from just my biblical values that I look at it and I'm like, okay, servant leadership. But that's like a bit like help others, right? Look to help others when you can. Humility. There's a lot of I'd be interested to think if others think we're humble. I don't know. I do think that our boys carry themselves with humility, and I think that's really important because you're never as good as you think you are, and you're always going to be you're never going to be winning in life at all times. And so I want the boys to remember that, and just respect others, humility, respect others, be brave, be courageous on the ball, be courageous on the field, be courageous off the field, and you're going to fail. You're going to fail when you're brave, you're going to fail. Truthfully, RFA, I told Blake this, it's pretty much against my whole personality. I'm an introvert. Okay, all right. I don't like being around a ton of people all the time. Confrontation, right? I don't love to be confrontational all the time. But the thing is, I just looked around and I thought that I want my sons to learn something a little bit differently, and I want to help the boys in this area that I can help to learn things a little bit differently. So we had to be brave. Now, whatever happens with it in the future, who knows? But I want them to be brave. If they want to start their own business someday, start their own business. If they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be anything. I want them to be brave. I want them to have high goals, high aspirations. So we talk about these things consistently, and and that's why it's on the website. They have to have an identity, though. With whatever they're in, you give the boys an identity, and they'll that's why they become easier to coach as they get a little bit older, because from a young age, you've instilled this in them. You've talked about this, and their parents. We have a great group of parents, all our groups, so 3-4 groups, great groups of parents. And so you just help to try to instill those things, and then they have an identity on the field, they have an identity off the field, and then, you're going to have success playing against, you're not going to win every game, but we've won a few here and there. And, then you're going to get noticed, other people will notice, and that's what you want. If I wanted a goal, I want all these, I want them to have a good experience, but I want to produce top players if we can. I want RFA, not me. I want RFA to at least produce some top players. That's the reality. However that lines up. If they're at an MLS Academy someday, great, fantastic. If they are in college someday, if they're playing in D1, if one of them goes professional, that'd be awesome. But that's a goal of ours, is to produce top players. But the first part of it is are we giving them a good environment to grow as young men? So that's why the website, that's why I looked at it, identity.
Well, so Blake, as a father of a son who participates in the program. What was it that drew you to it?
I'm also the goalkeeper, pseudo coach, Ben.
You're the goalkeeper
coach.
Oh, the goalkeeper coach.
Uh,
Well, right, but you
That's
you didn't-
concerning.
Okay, just
That's
hold on.
concerning
Let's
for me.
just quick jump in.
I'll play devil's advocate here. If my son was a goalkeeper, I don't know if I'd be at your club. But
Yeah. Also, he certainly didn't recruit you as the goalkeeping coach.
Correct. Yeah. So to answer your question, Ben, again, just something. It's a little bit different, right? We talked to each other kind of before this whole thing came about. Like you said, with Joe, Jess, Paul, you, and tried to just figure out. Here's what we kind of again have the same. You want the same thing for the kids, for the boys, and specifically, like myself, I think I can speak for Joe as well. We are demanding of all of us are demanding of our kids, probably a little bit unfairly. Our kids specifically needed different voices. And when you've got somebody knowledgeable, again, when you talk about the atmosphere you see and create, you see the players they've created, it just is like, hey, let's take a chance on this and kind of see what happens.
Talk about what's a session look like from your perspective, real quick, or do you want to jump in? That's fine.
yeah, that was where I wanted to go. Because I
don't want to hear Lance tell me. I want to hear what Blake says.
Well, I
about
want to
it.
hear both,
Right, but
practically how this plays out, right? Because if I'm someone looking from a different club on some of these things, we got values too, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course they do.
And so, but I think
They're probably not that much different.
yeah, but the way it actually rolls out in training, that's the difference, right? Who is delivering on the values you're setting forth in your website? And so I'm really interested to know, what does a training session look like, and what are some examples of the demands placed on the players, and at what ages too, right? I mean, were we talking about 15-year-olds? Or are we talking about 9-year-olds? And then and I'm asking too many questions now, but maybe just fill in. And then, to me, there's got to be an age level where it's really important to instill these values.
Yeah.
So just really quick. So you've got a 2014 group, which is U12.
Yep.
2015 group, which is U11.
Yep.
2017, 18, which is
mix,
U7,
which is U8s.
Yep.
Yeah, U8s, U9s in there, U7, U8s, and then I'll have a little 2019 group the 2019 group, 2019-2020 group is coming kind of in the spring and into the fall. And to your kind of what ages do you hold them to certain things like that? Well, I'm trying to kind of in the process of building out, okay, my 5-year-olds, my 6-year-olds, because I have the benefit of watching my own, helping my own young kids kind of go through the process of developing. So you really want to, it's the basics, right? Can you dribble a ball? So I'll end up having a program, an ad hoc, and honestly, the parents are the most important part of all of this, in my opinion, because 3 to 6 years old, and that the soccer starts on Tom Byer, but 3 to 6 years old, if you have parents that just kind of promote on-the-ball work in their homes to get the basics, you have a huge advantage over anybody else to begin with. So we'll set up a program, right, for kind of that age range and start, okay, can you dribble the ball? Can you do a U-turn around the cone? Outside of the foot technique there. Can you do little pendulums, pass between it? Can you just the promotion of the love of the ball and just get those basics? Because that is where, if you get that younger, you can then build quicker with everything else. So we'll have my 8, 9-year-olds, so we'll have a little program there. Am I super demanding of the 5 and 6-year-olds? Do I scream at them all the time? No, I don't scream at them all the time. However, you do have to have a strong voice with them. You have to have a strong voice with them because they will run all over you and you'll get nothing out of it. And they can be more disciplined than you think that they can be. They can learn quicker. You just have to demand it of them. 8, 9-year-olds, they're getting to a point where I am starting to get, now I don't yell at them as much as, actually I probably yell at them more at times. Quite honestly, at this point, I yell at the 8 and 9-year-olds more than I do at the older groups because I am instilling those, you're starting to instill those who we are. No, this is who we are. We pass, we move, we hunt, we work together, we work hard, we sacrifice. 2 of the things I didn't talk about, you work hard, you sacrifice, this is who we are. You do that younger at that kind of that stage because they can start to, because then when you get to U13, U14, U15, U16, it becomes easier and it becomes more, a little more tactical, a little more, and they hold each other accountable and all of those things. So they have an identity built in. So that 8 and 9 age range right now, starting to get into them a little bit more, so they know the demands, they know the expectations. So then in a few years, it becomes a little bit easier. But they have to get those basic, like they have to repetition. And this is the thing, a session. It varies on how I'll set it up. Is it just one group? If it's just one group, obviously you can be a little more intentional with it. If I combine the 2014s and 2015s, maybe you can't be as. It can be it's a really good session still, but it can't be as intentional. So it's like really, really basic, really, really simple.
More broad.
More broad. Sure. And things that they both, because I coach them both, things that both groups know I'll do so they can just get into it right away. But you could spend, like these kids, they just need they need significant touches on the ball under stress in stressful environments. Like you start off not stressful, then it's very basic. You start off not stressful, then you start off a little more stressful, then you get more stressful.
You're talking about like pressure.
Like pressure, like pressure, like no pressure, a little pressure, then a lot of then a good amount of pressure. Yeah. But you'll see a lot of people they'll spend time trying to explain things for 30 minutes. Session is an hour 15 minutes, hour and a half. I'll take them longer because I'm crazy, but like you have only so much time, and they just need touches. They need touches. So even if it ends up a passing square, okay, we've done that, fine. Passing square, boom, 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 boom. Then I'll have the groups compete. 2 groups, passing square, they compete. This group loses, they have to run. Right?
I was gonna say, as a jump in, competitive. That is the biggest, one of the biggest things. There is
and
a
do
little
the
bit
boys love it?
100%.
The competitive thing, because I remember the first time I had a competitive coach. Blake and I had we had Seth Moterson, and it was the first time we just every day in practice was competitive, and it was so fun. We loved it, and we got so much better. I think in those years.
Boys specifically, boys, they need to be challenged, and they like to be challenged, and it needs to be hard for them, and they need to be able to compete because it's an outlet for them. So you have them compete, and you have them compete almost in everything. We have them compete. Not at the beginning, maybe not, but if it's passing, if it's dribbling, if it's 1v1s, if it's 1v2s, if it's 2v1s, if it's 6v6 at the end. And then we do we do fitness. You want to know why people that popular don't run them. We'll run with the ball. Sometimes we run without the ball, but we run because what do you do in soccer?
You run.
You run.
You run without the ball.
Run.
Like
you know how many times you run
game, if not
without
more.
the ball? If I want, you're going to be on the ball only a certain, especially as you get older. You're only going to be on the ball a certain amount of time. So you got to freaking run. You got to run up. You got to run back. And if you're not going to run, unless you're, Messi or Eldon Mehmetovic, then you have to run. And it's a basic. I remember one of my last games. Okay, before I came back, one of my last games. I was terrible at the ball. Awful. I didn't get subbed out, and I ran 13, 14 kilometers in the game, and I played the whole game. And the coaches are I didn't play well on the ball, but they kept me on. You want to know why? Because I was running and I was everywhere. So this is even as an old man, Lance, that's the way you were playing for the Menace, right? You were logging way too many steps in those games. The younger boys were lazy. That's a mentality. If you think about it, though, here's the thing.
Can I just weigh in real quick here? Because I had to do the conversion on my internet here. 13 kilometers is about 8 miles.
Yeah.
That's a long ways. Anyway, go ahead.
I just had to do the math.
That's more than
your
the
point,
highest level guys.
It was 14. It was 14 that game.
That's 8.7 miles.
6 miles a game. So he's running
8 to 9 miles.
Yeah. But it's so then you run them because then it also mentally, who's going to give up?
Right.
What players are going to give up? And if they give up, that's fine. Everybody I'm sure.
Well, you have a physical breaking point.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever gotten them to the because they can run through it.
They are more resilient than society thinks, or whatever you want to say.
Can I understand though, just what, okay, so let's say, how old is Brody? 11?
11.
All right, so 11-year-old, let's say they train tomorrow and you're doing fitness. What does the fitness look like?
Oh, Blake was telling me about the one you guys did the other day, and I was just like, oh, I love it.
So the other night we went half line on a full-size field at Recplex, half line to the end line, which would be out at Recplex.
60 yards.
50, 60 yards. I don't know how long exactly it is.
Full field recovery.
Full field, No, not recovery.
Well, like a sprint, like you're
Yep.
like
so you
like
run
balls
half, and then
behind
you run
now.
the full
So, yeah,
field,
It's 100. Yeah.
and then you recovered back to the half line,
jog back to half.
and then it kept going and going.
I
and
gained
going.
about 15 seconds in between.
Yeah.
Like here's the
4 to
thing.
6 times.
But
But
this
guess
is
what? They all fit. I'm sorry, they all did it.
Yeah.
Nobody puked. Nobody stopped. Nobody quit. Nobody cried. Like
Yeah, I know,
they,
yeah.
And also, like that is a true replication of the game, right? Because you're attacking forward, right? Ball, and then goalie's got it, and now you got to recover all the way back to the other end. And now, okay, great, ball went out of bounds. You get a little bit of time to get back into position, and then here we go again. Yeah.
Have you seen that mentality? To me, that's just like huge for mentality. Like I can do it. I can push through. I can break through the glass ceiling or whatever. Have you seen that mentality play out now in like highly competitive games for your the kids?
Yeah, so, I mean, we were in Chicago. So we were in Chicago last weekend. Chicago Fire invited us to a little showcase. They saw us play. We were in Chicago soccer tournament a couple months ago.
You guys played inside too.
Played in, in the bubble. Yeah, played inside the bubble. So they invited us there, and both our groups, like our older groups, they both did a good job. They both won all their games. But the 2014s, there were a couple games they played a couple good teams, to be fair. They played a couple good teams, and they didn't play particularly well, in my opinion. I think Blake would probably agree. Joe would probably agree. But they won because of their mentality and because of how they're pushed. I mean, in my opinion, because of how they're pushed. It also played out in. We played a tournament in Kansas City, okay, and Heartland Invitational. The 2015s maybe had a little harder path, but they're small, right? Blake, no, they're small. They can play, but they're small. We played we played Sporting Blue Valley MLS Next team, and we had to be really disciplined in that game and didn't budge. 2-0 win. We played a Dallas team, really, really good. A couple FT Dallas Academy players were on the team. Mentally, they were really strong. Now the 2014s played a final, okay, against an opponent, and they were just, because we put them in high pressure environments and because they played in high pressure environments, they were just more prepared for the moment than the other team was. So it was done from, and it was only a 40 because it was only a 40-minute game because the weather was cold, and it was done from at the first minute we hit the post, scored 3 goals in the first 10 minutes, and game was done just because they'd been put in those moments.
Yeah, and they probably were out there just flying.
They're flying, flying around.
I mean, we trained a couple weeks ago after the local leagues, right? ISL was over.
Yep.
And just feedback, right? Couple like, hey, you want to come train? And from outsiders, and like, what do you mean? It's chilly, and it was raining. I mean, we talked about it, Ben, a little bit. Like you, as a kid, we loved when it was a little rainy, the ball's skipping around, everybody's flying, and you put the kids in environments that are like realistic, and yeah, it may not always be comfortable, but now, because they've been in this environment for a few years, it's the norm. They don't. That's why it's not any. That's the norm.
And I was saying to Blake the other day, like, at what point, like, hey, your kid wants a little break, you give them a break or whatever. And he's like, yeah, we do. But then they just go out back and play on their own anyway, because that's what they just love it. And I remember being like that too. Like, it doesn't matter if you played 3 games on the weekend. I'd prefer to go to training on Monday instead of taking the day off, just because like your body's, you're just in that mode. And
we'll give them their breaks.
Well, of course,
we
but
can give
my
them their
point is
breaks,
they're just going to be playing anyway.
They want to play anyway.
You've just got them like primed up and they love it.
And they want
So something that struck me here is obviously the mention of the Chicago Fire, and so we hear a lot now about clubs, either the pathway. So Sporting is affiliated with Sporting Iowa, and then that's the sort of the pathway to.
In theory, Kansas City.
Right. And then, we've seen players go different places. How do you get those opportunities? I mean, you're doing something different. You're not hooked in with Sporting Iowa, those guys. I mean, how do you make things like that happen? It sounds like a good opportunity for kids.
Yeah. So, one, it's kind of who you know sometimes, right? It's that plays a part in it. I've built relationships over the years because I played at a decent level, but then Gareth,
your team's results have also
so it's both, right? You can't say, and I so before the Chicago tournament 2 months ago, I was put in contact with Chicago Fire, and I said, hey, and I was you're nervous because we haven't played in Chicago before, but I did feel like the boys had earned a chance if somebody was going to come watch them. So I said, hey, so-and-so Chicago Fire, we're going to be here. I think we have a few good players. I'd just be curious as to your perspective on the players and the team itself. And so they sent out, in fairness to them, and credit to, like, they actually sent the scouts out. They didn't have to do that. And I'm sure they were going to be there anyway because it's a local Chicago event. Soccers are there, big clubs are there. And they sent them out, and they liked how the groups played. And they said, and they contacted me after. They said, hey, they talked to me. I said, we would like to are you interested in coming to an event with 150 players from Chicago? All Chicago Fire people are going to be there. And I said, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and so we were invited, and when we were there, probably I think us and FC Wisconsin were the only out of state teams, if memory serves. But like, you're playing against the top clubs were there outside of Soccers because they, it's probably a little different. MLS, like, there's quite a bit of competition. Yeah, but you're playing really good players from Chicago, and Chicago has a ton of teams and a ton of talent. They have millions of people to choose from, different diversity, different cultures, and both groups. So they got to experience like a big dome. They got to experience the Chicago Fire facility, huge big dome. They got to see Chicago Fire brand everywhere. There were 8, 9. I mean, I don't know 7, 8, 9 like Chicago Fire people, whether they were coaches or not, but 7, 8, 9 people kind of spread out.
And the
throughout.
Chicago Metro is nearly 10 million people.
Yeah,
right. The state of Iowa is.
And these are 10 to
nearly
12-year-olds, right? 10 to 12-year-olds
Yep.
are the kids you took.
And the quality, I said, like, we're now to the point where, remember, you guys have you coaching teams are like, we're better. We should have won that game, but we just, whatever. I mean, we played 2 really, really good teams, got both results. Obviously, the first game wasn't as good of a team we played, but we're now to the point where we're winning games when you could be like, man, that team was really good. Like, really, really, I mean, better than maybe anything we've played all fall.
Yeah.
How old's your younger son, Lance? I'm going to ask a very
Yeah.
motivated question.
My youngest?
How old's
Yeah,
Ray?
is he
My
one?
youngest.
Is he one?
No, he's a 2020. He's a 2025. He's a 2025.
Oh, all right.
So,
all right.
yeah.
I got a 2024.
But
Back to your question though, Matt. It's relationships, right? Because then, like, now you get invited back for the next one they've got because they've seen.
But
it's
talk
actually,
about this too, right, Siebes? Your heart, or not, whatever the Kansas City tournament is that you guys went down to, right? This last year you played in the top division.
Yeah.
But we talked about there were 13 or 15 divisions, Blake, in your age group.
Something, right? Everybody's familiar with the Heartland HIT tournament.
And my only point is
it's
that,
crazy.
like, at U8 or whenever you guys started, U9, you went down and you didn't play, like, you played in like the 5th or the 4th division.
Yeah.
And you had to then go. But you've been intentional over the years, being like, okay, well, we'll go and we'll just show that we can win here, and then we can show we can win here, and then we show we can win here.
actually, this brings up an interesting point because I think it's important. So, our boys have to earn everything they're given. Okay, so we don't. You can go on an ECNL platform and you can lose, and that, as long as you have 1,000 kids, doesn't, it's not like you're going down. It's not like you have that. Like our boys, when we go places, okay, if we want to play in the top division, they're not just going to say, oh yeah, you can go in because you're, someone, like, there's people that are way, way, way more important than me, way more important. So they had to earn their draw. They earned their draw. They earned their draw by doing well in, at these ages. The tournaments there are a few better tournaments at these ages specifically. So they earned it, and the coaches then talk about how well they play, and so they earn that top division. And the thing is Heartland. I like a lot of what Heartland does, but even in earning it, right? Because we played in the spring. We beat the team that won the Heartland division twice in the same tournament. Okay, and the younger age group, they beat teams that had won the league as well. We still, all that resume, we still were denied the top division because, and I get their side of it, because you have massive clubs that if they're pushed out of it, they're going to be real upset. So it becomes a financial thing. I pulled out of that. I said, that's fine, fair enough. So I pulled out of the heartland of it, and then we went to St. Louis and we went to Chicago, which ended up being really good choices for us. But everything we do, we have to go earn. So if we want, did I know somebody that I talked to get? Yeah, but the boys themselves and the families, they earned the chance to go to Chicago. They earned the chance. We're going to Minnesota United in a month and a half, February 7th, 8th. Similar type of event. It's just 9v9. They earn those things.
Well, and I just want to jump in here on this because you talk about the kids earning it. I think it's really interesting. You've got a first team. Is there a second team for these age groups?
So it depends on how we do it because
my point being is they have to earn it. You
got to
earn
it.
Every
yeah,
day.
you do. But there's a balance you have to have too, developmentally and results wise. Now I'll obviously generally err on the side of results. It's just is what it is.
I just love your sentence on your website that we value quality over quantity, which means we aren't for everyone, which is just such a great way to say because it's not you're not saying it's certainly not exclusive, but it's just not for everybody.
No, we'll accept anybody from any backgrounds, whatever it is, but we are kind of exclusive in is you gotta be good enough, right? And that's the older age groups now, especially,
values.
And you have to have the same. You have to exemplify the values. Those are such important things.
So you don't just take kids just because they can pay the bill or because they can. Because mom or dad came to you and said this or that, right? Like you've turned kids away because you're just like, it's just not good enough, sorry, or they don't seem like they're
It's
not at
not
the
for
level
everybody,
yet.
and that's
it's
okay.
not.
To me, there's kids, right, that we get along with, families that just don't want to be a part of it, and to me, that's okay. Every kid's got to figure out kind of where they want to go in the game.
Do you tell me this, Blake? You have aspirations for your kid to be a good kid, but do you have aspirations for him to, are you worried about what Brody's going to do in high school or college, or are you just trying to do this at this point to give him a chance? Because I feel I
think it's just he loves it, so and it's kind of a little bit of we've talked a little bit of a problem because they do love it so much and they do well that you've got to be creative in figuring out solutions or ways to continue to give them opportunities to be challenged.
Why aren't you working with older players, Lance?
Like
high school age kids, college age kids?
Well,
because you could impart a lot of knowledge on those guys.
Well, some
too.
of it's time, right? I mean, I have, like I've said, got 5, and these teams you require 5 children,
boys.
yeah. And so, but as it's growing, right, these teams need to have me around as much as possible. So these.
Yeah, but I'm just surprised nobody's come along and said, "Hey, we can pay you a lot of money to come do all this stuff over here and coach the old." I know you're not. I'm just saying, I'm surprised that people aren't begging you to coach the older players.
I mean, I'm sure. Are you talking high school level? You're talking
well, not necessarily high school level, but elite youth players.
Yeah, I mean, that's the route.
Pathway.
That was kind of the second. So that was you kind of had to choose. I kind of had to choose. You could have gone that route, and because there were kids that before I officially started the teams, that a couple are at Minnesota United now that you coached and that you tried to help. But now it's a matter of where am I going to spend my time? I know. When I was answering the question between private groups and teams, I knew I was going to spend my time more with the teams, and so I was going to have to sacrifice, probably more money there to get these teams right. So, we are, it's every, you guys know it. It's every coach. Everybody's coached here, right? It's every night. It's every weekend, and consistency and also just showing up. Consistency. Are you consistent? Do you consistently train? Do you consistently show up? Do they hear a consistent voice? That makes a big difference. And so, and will it have to? Will you, Joe's been a real, Joe and Blake and Paul and Jess, Richie, they've all been really, say it again, they've been blessings, right? I'm very grateful for all of them and all the parents that help out, because it does, you know, as you get into it, you do need help from various people. But like Joe and Blake and Jess, Paul, they all kind of share that kind of mentality that we talk about. Like they care about the kids first, and then they also want that product because they know a little bit of what it takes to kind of play at a top level. So, yeah.
So we never real quick on that note, and I'll let you go, Matt. I'm trying to think. Last year, I don't think we had one session get canceled for any reason. Good, bad, and different. But like if a facility if it rained too much, if it was cold, like we moved somewhere else and still trained. So speaking
Did you
of
ever train in
consistency,
like you didn't go train at Recplex, but instead you just trained in gym just because that was all you could get?
Oh, we train at gym.
Well,
Yeah, we
I'm
train.
just
No,
using
I
this as
laugh.
an
don't
example.
give away
No,
all the
I'm
secrets
not.
of locations,
No,
though, because some of them are valuable.
Well,
that
but
are,
no, and
we
that's
don't
what
want
I
to
was
give
going to
up.
ask is like, how often are you finding facilities for low cost or at no cost?
Yeah, you got to be. The thing is, you have to with kind of the not being huge, you got to be creative in the facilities that we find, and we will train at gym. I'll train on a concrete floor if I have to. We will train like
I've seen some of the grass fields you guys train on.
and we're
before.
so grateful for Valley Community Center. We've been so grateful for kind of because my groundskeepers kind of worked on that field and we're able to use that, and so we're really grateful for that. But it's not a perfect field. It's great. But this is the thing. Facilities sometimes are overrated. I mean, you create and the boys you deal with it. Okay, the ball bounces. All right, deal with it. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
the thing
like,
that's funny
deal with
too
it.
is when you play on like less optimal facilities and then you get a chance to play somewhere nice, you're just buzzing, aren't you?
I've always thought I've been thinking a lot about now, like you play so much on turf now, you always get a true bounce. I almost think like go play in a gravel parking lot and then go figure out how to control the ball. Like, isn't that how you learn real technique? I mean, isn't that like look at the best players like in the history of the sport? Where did they start?
Yeah.
Was it on a turf field? Probably
Dirt fields, cement, streets,
not. I wonder how that guy person got such a good touch.
So
let me ask a couple of questions.
no, you're fine.
And this is just, I'm not asking, I mean, you're gonna, I think, sort of brag about your results here, but just for a marker for our listeners, the 2014s and the 2015s, those boys teams, they're the best youth teams at that age group in our state right now. Is there an argument about that, or are they? I mean, are they the most talented age groups in terms of results when they play someone else?
Yeah, I'll say I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
like somebody has
It
to
appears,
be, right.
yeah.
There's got and like I would say yes. I don't think, and I think again we have good relationships with the coaches and parents and these. I think it's a fair.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. That's not
I think so.
pompous thing to say.
I'll play a little devil's advocate. There's a couple, like maybe on one of the clubs, there's a couple players that play up. So their argument back to us would be, well, two of our best players play up, okay, and so, results don't matter nowadays. But no, like so we locally, yes, we win most of our games, if not all of our games, when we play at our age group. Yes.
And then the other observation I've got is, and the only reason I ask that is because you hear the methodology, you hear the consistency. So then, it's important for people to know like what's on the back end of that. And there's no
where I was going with
coincidence,
this.
right?
Yeah.
You were okay. So then the other thing, and sorry to steal your thunder, then Ben.
No, same team.
The other, I lost my train of thought.
Well, so elephant in the
Go ahead.
room is at a certain point, right? You guys have had to. You've had to basically like get special dispensation to participate in certain leagues, and you're really working your network, and because a lot of times for whatever league, whether it's ECNL or CDL or whatever, you have to have the requirement is to have teams in every age group, right? They don't just want one-offs. So that's something you've been working through. But so the elephant in the room to me is, okay, you've got this really talented U12 team. What's it look like for them at pre-ECNL starts at 13, 14.
Oh no, Ben.
No, pre-ECNL starts at 5U now. No, I'm kidding.
12. U12 so in the fall they had.
Only point being is that like we heard, and we've heard that the ECNL is the way to get recruited, which I think that it's probably accurate. But it's not where everyone's getting recruited. It's where like the top tiers getting recruited, similar to like when we were playing, it was maybe ODP or perhaps, you know, some levels of club when you were still playing regionals at that, you know, where it was a true state champion, regionals, nationals. But so you've done an awesome job of finding, you know, you talk about going to Chicago, you talk about some of these different events you guys participated in. What's it look like, or how do you do it? Do you try to work within Iowa soccer? Do you try to work with teams outside of Iowa soccer?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you just give them is it just like an a la carte menu where you just like go like, well, we'll just do our own thing?
I mean, I think, you know, I'm not going to answer
I'm not
the
asking you to
question
like
entirely,
yeah,
but there are different ways to go about it, and we will. My first my first obligation is to make sure that the boys are looked after developmentally, and there are different ways that we will go about it, and that we will.
So you're confident you can find a solution?
I'm confident there is a solution now.
Good.
Am I going to tell you exactly what that solution is now? No, but we're confident there's a solution, and again, you want these boys to continue to get better in the best environment possible. And like you said, the system itself, I understand a lot of why they do it, right? So I get it. And to your point, statistically, right, yeah, you're going to get recruited at MLS Next. Boys, MLS Next homegrown is where, you know, that's the top, but ECNL, you're going to get recruited at those places significantly. That's just because those are the biggest platforms. I lost my train of thought too now.
Well, you can pick back up because I've got mine back.
Yeah.
So when you remember, just interrupt me when you get yours back. So, all right, this is an observation that I've got, and maybe a question as well. But, you know, we've heard about your resume, college, pro, all that, and then this sort of intentional effort to work with younger age groups, particularly because you're a dad around your kid. Yeah. And so I think the one of the huge differences I see here, and that's so important to the developmental structure, just as this is my opinion, moving forward, is number one, who are your best coaches and at what age group should they be working with? If we're talking about giving kids the best ability to achieve what they want, right? And for me, it's our best have to be with 6 to 12-year-olds. That's where our best have to be. And so then, is that consistent across our state? The second thing, on that note then is, in my opinion, the parent workforce in our state, like, is probably the most underutilized volunteer workforce that we've got in our state right now. And what I mean by that is, think of, 25 years ago, this didn't happen, but now think of all of the moms and dads who have grown up playing soccer now, who have played at decent levels collegiately. We've got, some different pros out there. And so then when you get into these massive club models, the clubs pick who the coaches are, but I mean, you're missing all of your talent, which is all the parents. And so, like, for me, the ability for a parent to be able to select how their child develops based on who the coach is, and for me, it's in the parents that are invested, is so important. And that's one of the real appealing things I see about this, is could you bypass these massive super clubs who have these infrastructures set up, whereas a parent, you say, how do I affect this? I can't. And then you go see a different model where you have a soccer dad. I mean, you're a soccer dad.
Yeah.
A really talented one and a really experienced one. Like, why aren't we using more of our soccer dads? Why aren't we using more of our soccer moms? I think that's where, sort of the unlocking the potential is, like, in our state. Like, and so then when you think about then your group, then plus who are the parents? I mean, I think the other question I had about your youth, and I've been talking now, but your youth and then also the group now is the parents that are invested in these teams. Like, so first question is, when you were a kid, was the parent group close at all in the clubs growing up that you played in?
Like, were they friends?
Friends. Did they socialize? Did they know each other?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. My team was, Yeah. The parents, the families were. I mean, I'm sure there were some that didn't. I'm sure there were, and it's hard for me to say because I was young and I was going through it. But yeah, I like the teammates I have, to Tucker Sindlinger, all that stuff. My dad and my mom they were all relatively close. They had to be, right?
Who were the guys in your team growing up that we would know? Like, you're I know all
Tucker,
these guys.
right?
Yeah,
Tucker Sindlinger.
So they say real quick before, because this is an easy answer for you to remember to answer Matt's question, but the argument, is it debatable, Ben? Like, is that CRSA team the top
when I was talking to
youth
Zaretta
soccer
about it,
team in the
he said
history of Iowa?
We just settled on like there's no question that they're one of the top 5 teams to ever come out of Iowa. We just we don't have to like debate whether they're the best, but you guys had.
Go ahead,
like
and then
of your group, like start rattling off some of the guys you played with. Tucker Sindlinger.
And then just kind of where they went to, what
Yeah, I
they
was gonna say,
did.
Tucker went to Creighton.
Tucker went to Creighton. So I don't know all the demographic of all the teams, but I would say top 5, whatever you want to say. Quality, I'm sure, as we've said, quality evolves. So it's kind of different eras. So where the soccer teams maybe have there been soccer teams that can play a little better? Maybe. But from where we sent players, like Matt Zaretta went to Kentucky. Jordan Cadlick went to Louisville, then came back to Drake. Will Martin went to Loyola Chicago.
Ian Christensen.
Went to Georgetown, also played professionally. So you have 2 professionals on one team.
You're the other one.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah,
that
so me and Ian. Then you had Hunter Kennedy went to Drake. Mike Noonan went to Drake. Michael Faden went to Drake.
Foster jumped in there.
Nick Foster went to Drake.
Scotty Wags went to Loyola Chicago.
Yes.
He played with you guys.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And then, yes, he did. There's one that, Danny Bauer went to Marquette.
All right, so we can, unless you've got more, like that's a great list.
Probably do have more, but I can't.
And that's what like when you say that, then I go, okay, well, like the 84 ODP team.
Kenny Perkins went to Valparaiso, I think.
Okay.
So who's the coach? Who's your guys' coach when you were young, like 8 to 12?
Guy named Colin Gilmartin. He's now no longer around. He got Colin Gilmartin. Yeah. So he was a good coach as well. But Colin Gilmartin, John Keating.
Sure.
John Keating. Yep. Jimmy Bakos. I don't know if you know that name.
I know the name.
Those guys. Yeah.
Interesting.
So from a purely recruiting, I would find it hard to believe that there was another team that
not club team. I don't think.
Yeah, club team.
Because I was gonna say I just look at our ODP team as like that was our, because we would try to play outside of ODP as well. Like we would put teams together.
Charlie Schwartz, Drake.
Schwartz is another one.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I don't want to make sure I mention them if I don't want to miss out.
Hearing you say it, I think you're probably safe to say you guys produce the most
and
Division One
by
players.
The way, so here's the thing. Okay, and we look at it in the Final Four now, and it's just this Final Four. Okay, St. Louis, like 10 St. Louis players. Okay, right?
Shout out Andrew Hackenleibel.
Yeah, yep. Ankeny, right? Use Ankeny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Centennial.
Washington. With Jamie Clark, I counted it. They have 19 players from Washington. So then that team, Drake, right? And I don't know whatever role they played. I don't know.
Big roles.
The Drake Elite 8, that was largely consistent of
those guys.
So if I was
like
looking at it like and I think Coach Flynn has done a good job, and I think he's really started to, get the team better. But if I was looking at it from like a collegiate perspective, right? If I looked at it and I looked at the whole system, I would want the players here to develop in the best way possible. And then I would, you have a pipeline built, and I think you started to do more and more of it. You have a pipeline built, and you get a ton of these players that have, ideally, they played together, and you get them to Drake. And then we talk about relationships, and that's what we talked about, our team. Well, why do you think some of that team, even if some of them didn't play a lot, I don't know, why they had relationships for 7, 8, 9 years. Mm-hmm. And so then that carries you on the field, it carries you off the field, because football's about relationships, right? It is. And so that's what, if I was looking at it from like a Drake perspective, I would want and I'm sure he does, I would want the youth to just continue to get better and better. You build that pipeline, you have all these relationships, and then you can create a real good team consistently, in my opinion.
So this list of guys you just listed off, when you guys were 9 and 10, were you playing together all the way until the time you were 18?
So
I mean,
core of us
group?
were. The core of us were. So Hunter was around for a while, but like me, Tucker, Will Martin, Kenny Perkins, Danny Bauer, like 7, 8, 9 of us of that core. And then, but listen, quality attracts quality.
Right.
Okay, so
That was gonna be my
then
next
you
question.
get quality attracts quality.
They'd-
So
Yeah,
They-
they
West
fostered
Des
two Des
Moines.
Moines boys.
here's the
Buster,
here's
yeah.
the thing. You have to like, it's not rocket science, right? Some of it's not rocket science, and you want to build the like. I get why some of the clubs, because you want to build that talent pool as much as you can. You want everybody playing, and you want that talent pool built, and I understand that. But you have to have to your point, you have to have the coaches to be able to at least teach them most of the right things when they're young. And so the parents, to your kind of first part of the question, the parents are underutilized. And I don't know the other clubs' policies. So I don't know what the other clubs' policies are, but you would want like, you want Joe. I want Joe around helping with these younger teams because he's a soccer guy. He's a soccer dad and he cares. The thing is, the soccer dads, probably too much at times. Right? But they care. They do care. And that's like the first step of caring. Why do you think St. Louis has such a good – because all those guys from Gallagher, they all played, and then they're all helping coach their sons, and they're all creating these teams when they're younger, right? And then the reality is if you beat a bunch of people, like if you start beating people, then you're going to draw better players. Like it results, that it kind of matters that way. But, yeah, and to your 6 to 12-year-olds, they are like 3 to 6, if parents can – like 3 to 6, parents at home – get the kids on the ball. 6 to 12, that's when you're really building that technical base and those good habits. Those are like vital age groups, and not that the older coaches are very important. Like all the coaches are important, but like building those building blocks when they're young are vital because you can't change bad habits when they hit 14, 15 years old.
That's it, right? I mean, we talked, obviously the last podcast got a bunch of feedback, and one of them was, I think I told you guys the college coach went to the freshman and said, hey, call your club coach back and ask for your money back because you can't pass, receive, or strike a ball. But again, like when you have them at 16, 17, like unfortunately you cannot fix
It's hard to fix.
technique.
It's really
if-
hard to fix
if-
those
if
things.
they're that far
It
off
actually makes me just discussing it makes me mad. So all like.
let's go.
Go for it. Let's go,
It's
Lance.
just-
Let it
no,
loose,
it's
Lance.
just-
Let it
it's
loose.
just- No, but
where
you
it's
show
going,
up.
but I
You
love it.
the first thing. What do you do with the first thing when you do is you're playing a team. You like look at their team. You look at can that guy pass the ball? The technique in some of these areas around the region, we'll just say areas around the region. It's just when you look at are you even working on technique? Are you even working how to pass the ball?
I love it when you see a kid pass the ball and he doesn't point his toe up and lock his ankle. I'm just like,
it
what?
drives you mad. So you look at it, and you look at some of these teams that you play around the region, and you look at the kids pass the ball, and you wonder. And that's why the Chicago thing is interesting to me because sometimes I think myself, you want to see it. I have to see these things. How good are these? Because there are better players, there are better teams, way better players, way better clubs everywhere, right? And I understand that. But like Chicago, all the kids, I mean, for the most, like I'm just watching the games in between. Pretty much all of them had decent technique. Like pretty much all of them had good technique. Okay.
Remember how you couldn't just pick on that left back. Like let him have the ball because, or the right back. But like,
yeah, they all could pass the ball. They're all. You see them
strike a
all
ball.
juggling, right? You see them all doing these things, and that's what we have to kind of start to demand from these younger ages. All of us, myself included, at these younger ages, and that's how you can really, get them to Pat Flynn and Drake someday, and just build a
dynasty,
build a monster for them,
Yeah.
But it does that frustrates me when I show up and I see. I caught myself there. When I see an ECNL player, when I see an ECNL player, right, that is unable to pass a ball with proper technique, like what are we doing? Those are the thoughts that go. Now again, we have players on our own that need to get better technically. Like we are not all clean.
And that's
We're
not
not
an
all clean
indictment
technically.
on the coaches coaching ECNL. That's
No.
an indictment on the system
Yeah.
where at the early age groups
both.
we just it's truly like if it was fixed at an earlier age, you couldn't be as critical.
Yeah.
Of, like if all the ECNL players could receive a ball and pass a ball and they were all technically proficient and all that stuff, you just, it'd be harder for you to be critical.
Right. Well, so you mentioned the system. So I got two more sort of system comments, right? Number one is, so Lance, you've given us a lot about your background, your expertise. Gosh, I only assume you spent a lot of time getting your coaching licenses then.
I was going to ask about that earlier too. I assume you don't have any licenses.
Well, I mean, because I qualify for certain. If I did paperwork and stuff, you qualify for a certain level just because you've played for a long time. But no, I don't at the moment have. I don't have,
And I only mentioned that not as a criticism, but again, this goes to my point. Like,
you've got soccer dads who don't have licenses who might be able to help you.
We've come to a point now where we it's like we only accept as something that might be like quality, or people get attracted to like a super club. 10, 15 years ago, we started the onset of these club mergers, these corporate acquisitions essentially. And then we started seeing MLS clubs be like, well, if I can attach to this club, I can be a pathway. And out of that, we got this infrastructure where you got to have an A license, you got to have a complex, you got to have all these different, criteria. And so we got really concerned with labels and less concerned about the quality underneath what comes behind that. And so, I think what I really like about seeing like your club and quite frankly, some other clubs that have popped up is I think what a big piece of what's happened here is that local communities have lost their identities in terms of being like a local community club, where there's the ability to tailor make a developmental program. Like for me, hearing about CRSA, there was ability to tailor make that system for you guys.
Yeah.
Right. 25 years forward, if you guys played in a club, I wonder if that same opportunity would have been present, right? But then you're basically building almost like a similar model to what you'd experience. I think we got to get back to being able to tailor make programs. I mean, less concerned about like, I'm a big conglomerate.
Well, but this is what happens in the big conglomerate, or, in these corporate structures, right? They say, okay, well, every team gets 3 training sessions a week for 75 minutes. And they get this, and this, and it's all equal, even though maybe the coaches aren't the same. So it's certainly not equal, but in theory, right? Everybody gets the same things. Mm-hmm. And I just remember as a coach, I would, it'd be like, hey, we're going to cancel tonight because of the rain, and it'd be like, well, can I just like organize something else, because I need to get my boys ready for this weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And I would love to. I'm planning to be out tonight coaching, so I don't care if it's raining, I don't care if it's cold. Like, let's just do it. And I was told no, right? You're not allowed to do that because it's not that now. It's not equal, and so that's like where, again, the ability to tailor make your scenario and say, you know what, like we're not going to cancel a single session because we want to be consistent with the kids every single day. I mean, to me, that really sounds like a player first environment, right?
Yeah.
Like you're.
Well, yeah, for me, it's about the boys, and it's about it's about good it's about putting a good product on the field. I can never
you
have
get
to train
over.
you have to train to have a good product on the field. You have to train.
And if it's cold or rainy on Saturday, do you still play?
Yeah.
Yes. So like if it's cold and rainy on Tuesday, you better play.
Yeah.
That's just and we're all on turf now, so you're not ruining the fields. That excuse is gone.
Yeah. But it's to the kind of the and I'll refer to it as a system, because the system, like they're hard decisions, because you want the kids that you coach to be on the best platform.
Right.
And here's the thing. So the clubs have a tough decision to make. And so I respect, say what, we could say a lot of different things, and I'm sure people could say a lot of things about me, and I'm sure they have said a lot of things about me. But I respect the people who do try to build something and try to do, but you have a decision to make. Do you try to be an ECNL club, or do you stay on a platform that not people don't go to watch? So you have to be on the ECNL, you have to hit standards of huge standards. I mean, to have that many, and there's no gap in between, to have that many quality teams, U19, U18, U19, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, that requires a huge infrastructure. And so I do empathize in some, with a lot of clubs throughout the country. Like, well, I make this decision, make this decision. Because sure, there's been plenty who have done what I have done and probably done it better, but then they have to make certain choices at a certain point because the system tells them, for my kids who are good to get good games, I have to be this. But the problem is when you become that, unless you are in St. Louis, then the quality starts to diminish. So it's hard. It's not like it's not an easy answer, right? And so I respect everybody here. I respect all the clubs here. I respect what they've built in different ways. It's just you're left with difficult. The system in the United States of America has just left these clubs with difficult decisions. So, but then it makes a smaller club. It takes away kind of the uniqueness of it too. So you're talking, everything kind of becomes, well, everybody's this huge club. And so you're very similar types of teams, very similar.
Play the same way.
Yeah, play the same way, very similar quality. So because it's just, that's the system. And it becomes really tough to break through that system. Now, I would, there's different ways to do it, but you know what I mean? Like it is hard for some of these, and the younger age groups, in a place like Iowa, we don't, these kids get, you have, 100s, 200, 300. Like, it's impossible. It's impossible unless your culture is soccer, right? To really hold that quality with that big of a club. Unless your culture is soccer, most mom and dads didn't play soccer. They played basketball, they played baseball, they played football. And that's kind of their culture. So these kids, they expect if their kid does love soccer, I play basketball, my kid loves soccer. You send them to this big club, and all of a sudden you expect them to magically be better, and that's just not how it's going because there's not enough coaches to then actually help the kids in any sort of intentional way. So it is a hard system. I'm sure that there's arguments to be made that people would tell me, and that it's gotten way better, and I'm sure it has in many ways. Quality's gotten better. I'm sure it has in many ways, but it is confusing for the parents, all of it, because MLS next, okay, MLS next, ECNL regional league, ECNL regional league, okay, NPL, and this, and becomes
that's
confusing.
Part of why we're trying to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Because if you're a parent who, like Blake as an example has had to navigate this, but he's done so with a lot of information based on his own experience as a soccer player and his network that he's, people he's friends with, whatever. But then you've got parents who don't know all this stuff. So like if I'm sitting in the Super Cup meeting and I don't know anything about soccer and I'm being told that this is what I need to do, get out my checkbook, I'm probably just going to say, okay, well, here's the expert. Yeah. But if I don't have, say what you will about our pro high school podcast, we weren't saying that ECNL was bad. We were just saying, is it right for everybody to forego high school soccer? Yeah. And are there things for high school soccer that are super positive? Yes. Yeah. But how do you navigate that as a parent for your kid? And I think that ultimately has become what a lot of these conversations are about. Is I don't have kids. I'm thankful for that when I start to talk about this, because I go, man, my mind might explode. Yeah. How do you make the right choice for your kid?
And the high school thing,
and you also don't know until it's done, right? You're not going to know until I'm not going to know. Yeah. You're not going to know if you made the right decision until he's 25.
Yeah, the high school, I took it as I listened, and because I can speak plainly about it because I didn't play high school, right? So, but it is a case by, it's different for different players. So, I didn't play because my brother played high school, got just. Football player just freaking went through his knee, done, right? His high school career was done. And so, then I was very, very highly recruited player. So you thought about injury-wise,
You're also a little guy at that point,
and
too.
Yeah, little, and the quality was even, think about Eastern Iowa, 20, however long it was. So you're probably not getting a ton of good players that you're playing. So, so that was a decision, I was I don't want to get injured. The club practices, you're going to have higher quality practices there. And that's when we still had events like different MRL events back then on the weekends. So we still would do that. The difference is there is that a lot of my team, that boys we just talked about, Thomas Ostrander, by the way, too, Drake, but
There you go, Oz. There's a shout out.
Yeah.
love it.
See, See, a lot of those guys. I don't remember how many exact. Most of them probably. A lot of them played high school. What the high school coaches did was they said, "Oh, you play for CRSA. Okay, you play for this team. All right. Well, you can go train with CRSA X amount of times a week. Come to us once a week. If there's an MRL event and it's more important than this high school game, then we understand that you'll probably end up going to the MRL event." So there was
like Michael Thaden and Nick Foster were both got the opportunity to win a state championship at high school and play for CRSA.
Yeah.
And they both went to Drake. And
Yeah.
like
I was the kind of outlier that just for various reasons didn't do it. But to your maybe the Super, is it the Super Cup? Is that what it's called?
that's what they're at. Yeah.
So yeah, Super Cup. So maybe it's better for a couple girls, but maybe at high school, here's the thing. I just looking at it, high school is still going to provide a lot for them too. And the recruiting part of it is an interesting one. And you're gonna, because I think when listening to it, you're probably gonna get almost the same schools looking at you, either way. I would guess the same.
I think that's the implication from our end. I think is what you're saying. It just seems like,
and maybe I could be wrong, but that's what it would seem like to me. So I don't want to get any. But I just looking at it, I think it's different for families, different for different players.
well, I just think if you look at history in the state of Iowa, most kids that are that good find a way, like Andrew Heckenleibel. Well, he left and was starting to play up at Minnesota United. Tate Duax went to Austin.
My nephew,
played
yeah,
down there. Your nephew.
My nephew's not playing. Listen, my nephew's not playing high school, and now will it last 4 years? I don't know, but he's at
What's he
Minnesota
gonna get?
United.
Yeah, okay.
So he's at Minnesota United. Yeah.
But so to me, that's you should definitely play up at Minnesota United.
There's a difference, right? There's a difference
right?
there.
I know from my experience, like when you talk about teams that played together, like the team that I played for that got me recruited was in Nebraska, and those guys were all together for however long.
Yeah.
And I just came and just kind of tucked in and was able to find that's how I got recruited. But so that's to me, some of these players that are like, well, I want to play in the ECNL and I got to go to those events. They got to find a way for them to get there without taking a bunch of kids that also aren't going to play at that level. Right. Go play, if two teams play against each other and there are recruiters there, like their coaches scouting, if those two teams are not comparable at the same level, it's really hard to judge anything, right? Yeah. So you have to go, to know if you can play at a high level, you have to play against other high level teams, and it can't be 5-0. The score should be 2-2 or 1-0 or 3-1, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
I digress.
but I get. Here's the thing. I actually get both sides because ECNL. Looking at the girls' side, that's
definitely where they're getting recruited.
That is the top platform, right?
Yeah.
That is. So I understand. I understand both sides. I think to your point, both your point. It's some of it's most of the girls. I think they'll be just fine playing high school.
Yeah.
But I also understand if a coach was to say, well, we're in the top division. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. If I was an MLS Next homegrown and I looked at it, I could argue the other side. Well, RFA's MLS Next homegrown. I want, and then there's this event. There's all these events. Then I want my players playing in MLS Next homegrown. The difference is it would be if it was, in my opinion, I don't know the quality of teams. I would have to make sure that our team was really, really good. Right. So if our club, however it ends up, but however it evolves, if a bunch of RFA players are playing, we're going to play high school, I'd think about it, and I'd wonder if you could get a lot of them playing at the same high school, and then I would try to build a relationship with a coach and see if I can mainly have them train, not mainly, but have them train in their normal setting, and then so the relationships between high school coaches and club coaches is
Matt
really
and I were
important.
talking about that right before we started, just saying if I had a team that was really good and I wanted to try to keep them together, I would go talk to these high school coaches and try to get on the same page with them.
Yeah.
And that might not look the same for every relationship, but that's how the ECNL folks may have thought we were being critical of them, but if I'm a high school coach, they're being criticized. Every single high school coach in the state was being criticized on the other side of it. So, instead of being critical, like it might be.
There's
it might
common
make
ground.
sense.
I assume
Yeah,
there's got to be
100%
common ground there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Well, so here's what I look at, right? So, I mean, I hope I don't have any double ups, but from your team, I've got 15 guys that went on to play Division I soccer with 2 pros, right? And so that's the top 5, right? But that's what we're talking about in terms of like a quality. So if you transport that team now 20 years forward or 15, however, I don't know how old you are, but I don't want to age you too much. Into today's now, right? To today's age now, that team right there, like if they're at the top, you would go compete them in the best recruiting events around the country, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say then instead, like you had like 3 of these guys on one team, on a 15 team, 3 in the 16s, 3 in the 17s, 3 in the 18s, and then you take a Zaretta, a Cadlick, and a Martin, like a Cadlick especially, right, because he's a goalkeeper, into under 15, and Cadlick had scored on 5 times. Whatever it is,
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference. So now you're taking less of a team. So I think that's the real difference. The huge takeaway actually from me, like from what I've been listening to so far, is like what you said about the relationships, like between the players and how that actually drives this sort of competition within the group. Like, so I just, like in my mind, how I'm framing this now is like 3 to 6 introduction, like 6 to 12 set the environment, demands, and then you get this exponential sort of.
Then you just try to like tame the beast.
Well,
right?
but you get the relationships between the boys then driving your player
Yeah, that's what I mean.
development
Then you
structure.
just got to then you just got to make sure they stay within the lines.
Right, but then
right?
if you can take that process and you can take them through, then you can have. I think then you can have a team where you go. We got 15 of the best players in the region.
Well, and then you add little pieces as you go too.
Right. But if you don't like mold that and foster that and grow that throughout their whole time, it's just different.
Lance, talk
totally
about
different.
the relationships you have with those guys, because Blake and I grew up playing together since 11, and I would say that like if either of us got on probably the gym court right now, because we're probably not going to play on a big field or anything like that, but like we would know what each other are going to do,
Yeah.
and we would just immediately just fall right into it without trying.
Yeah.
And we're also like, if we were playing against each other, we'd be kicking the hell out of each other the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And that's but that's because we played together forever. And so I think that's just one of those things, like you're saying, these boys, they're probably best friends already, right?
Yeah, they were.
It's interesting too on that note, because we were talking about the other day. I can't speak so much for the 15s, but our 2014 group, U12, there are probably 10 plus school districts or schools they attend. So like for me, my kid, we're at Southeast Polk. Like we have, we're the only one at Southeast Polk. Now he's got a different friend group. And by the way, you want to talk about diverse? Like he's a white, blonde-haired kid, and he's playing with a ton of different families from backgrounds and live within. There's a 40-mile radius of kids we've got probably in our group.
Yeah, I was friend. I mean, when we were younger, we were all best friends. I mean, now, but if you put us, do we speak? We're grown. We don't speak as much. We live in all different spots. But
Right, but if you just hopped on the field,
no,
with
if I
Tucker
hopped on the
Singley
field,
or-
if I hopped on the field with Tucker, I know I'd be like, all right, Tucker's going to show up in that pocket. I'm going to play off. I'm going to play give and go right here. I know he's going to come here. He's going to be clever. He's going to try to do a clever turn. Boom, boom. But I want the ball, so I'm going to give him to you. And I'm going to give it back. Right? And just like you said, if you played against them, you're still driving like Tucker. Okay, who was the best on CRSA? Well, I'm still going to say, well, like, listen, I was the best, so I'm going to try to assert my dominance. He's going to say, no, you were overrated. I'm going to try to. He's going to try to assert his dominance. So it's like, but that's basic stuff, right?
But
like,
and it's also one of those things, like you do that for the hour and a half you're on the field, but when you're done, it's like, what's up?
Yeah,
like,
your
pals.
yeah,
Let's go
of
play
course.
video games
Of
or
course,
go
yeah.
whatever.
That's what boys. That's what boys. Boys, they boys bet they compete against each other. They smash each other, and then they laugh about it. Right?
Yeah.
My sons all the time punch each other, hit each other, and laughing about it 2 minutes later. Like they're all idiots, but they, like it's
just feral.
But like our boys just kick the crap out of each other, not intentionally, right? But they're trying to tackle, trying to win the ball. They're fighting, they're pulling, and they get pissed at each other.
Yeah, of course.
Session ends and
Lance, what about I think like my observation, a lot of the other clubs is you see turnover in terms of, or a lack of consistency in who the coach is from year to year. So I could go to, one of the clubs here in town. My kid in under 11 could get coached by one coach. The next year he's coached by a different coach. How do you feel about the consistency of like the message coming from the coach? I mean, like the same.
Yeah,
do you think it matters? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to want to have a big say in all these groups for a long period of time, but
Yeah, I'll want to have a say. I got to think about it from. Yeah, I'll definitely want to have a say in these groups, but the consistency of the message is important. It's also important that, and this is how I gotta, we gotta do our stuff or think about our stuff as well. It is important for them to hear different perspectives as well, because coaches see the game differently, right? You'll see it differently than I do at times. You'll see it differently. Joe will see it differently, which is why I like having Joe and Blake around, because sometimes they see things from a different perspective than I do. So it's good for them to hear.
Joe sees it from like
Different-
5'3", you see it
different
from about
messages.
6'1".
It's just different. But so
clip that one.
I actually think what's actually worse for the kid is, well, it kind of goes back to I remember my coaches. I don't remember their message. I'm sure what they taught me stuck, but I don't remember their messages all the time. I don't remember their tactical messages all the time. I remember the environment they placed me in, and I remember the competition that we had amongst each other. I remember the successes that we had. I remember the failures that we had, the relationships that we built. I remember all of those things. Do I remember every message that every coach? Do I remember exactly what Homer said? Maybe a little more than a few of the others because he had him at an older age. I remember, little tidbits of messages here and there. But again, back to the original kind of point, it is the relationships I had, to his point, the relationships that I built. It's not like somebody told me to go play like Tucker was going to find this space all the time and play a 1-2, and that's the message that maybe they did say it. I don't know, but that's not what I remembered. Okay, eye contact. There's Tucker in this gap right here. Tucker's going to do this, or he's going to do some weird turn that randomly works, and then and then we're gonna have it. So it's those built-in kind of relationships, and I think. And I understand you're trying to develop everybody's, because they say soccer's an individual, right? You have to develop, you have to develop the individual player. Completely understand. I don't disagree. You have to develop creativity and all that stuff. But again, the relationships are most important, and we live in we've become even more, and college athletics down. You live in the nil culture now. You live in the social media culture now, where I'm getting follows from kids who are on Indy 11 who have Instagram pages, because it's all self-promotion. It's, well, this isn't great for my kid. My kid didn't play as much right now, so I'm going to take him over to this club, or I'm going to take him over to this club, or, it's all kind of selfish. That's not what life is. It's not what life should be, and it's not what soccer is. It is an unselfish sport. You're running for each other. If my best player needs me to run for him, I remember telling Joe Cole when he was old. I remember telling him.
I said, scored in a World Cup.
So I told him, I said, like, he was gassed. I just told him, in a training session, I said, Joe, just don't worry about it, man. I'll just run for you. Okay, it's fine. So there's like, that's his role. Fine. His role is to be the playmaker. My role is to do everything else for him. Like,
you definitely can't do what Joe Cole
does. There's this selfless mentality, though, and I think we've lost it because, and I get it, because of, like, if you're, especially at the big, basketball, football, $1 million at 18 years old, $2 million at 18 years old. I understand that, but we're losing who we are as, like, what are we teaching the boys? What are we teaching these young men? Are we teaching them that this is just self-promotion and this is the most important thing? Are we teaching them, like, to be a good team, you have to have sacrifice and you have to have hard work, you have to have all these things? So, yeah, coaches are important, but setting the culture first, setting that environment to build those relationships, way more important than those boys now, for their development, the older ones, okay? My job is to try to put them in the best places to thrive and be seen, but they will carry each other. If they are together for a long time, they will carry each other. I guarantee it. Now, again, there's things you can't, a couple kids moving, the environment, again, changing, different leagues coming into play, like all of these things you can't account for. So you have no idea how it ends up, but that is the idea. And why did I start? Why did I do that? Well, because I experienced it. So I have 3 things, okay? I have 5 kids, so I can see kind of how they're growing, okay? I That's one. So I can kind of, two, I played at a really high level. Okay. So I kind of saw the mentality, the coaches kind of, but three, I was developed on a team that you just saw. So I was developed in that way. So that's why I'm trying to, for better or for worse, replicate it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Well,
So-
I think I sort of feel like that's a great place to like ties a nice little bow on it. But if you want to jump in, Matthew.
I've just got one other point.
Of course you do.
Wanted to get this out. I don't need to finish. There's someone else finish, but I got. This is just my observation. So we talked about top 5 teams, and I don't know what the top 5 ones are. You guys are all the Iowa guys, and you could probably, probably remember all the teams better than I could. But I get the relationship piece is a big takeaway for me. The identity piece is a huge piece for me. Like as a person, but then how that then transfers into a club. And so like when I look back then at the teams that I've seen have been successful, not just with the one-offs that go to somewhere, but the teams that actually have multiple kids be in a position to have opportunities to play at a decent level. I think you have parents and coaches having the ability to manipulate and foster that environment, right? So I just want to give you a couple of more examples, right? I think back to the Urbandale, and then they went at Ankeny girls team. It was the Kelsey Hood era with Megan Kearns. Mary Kate McLaughlin played. There's a number of other girls. When I was 22, they were under 17, so they're like 5 years younger than me. So that would be, they're in their late 30s now. They were coached by Ozzie White from the time he had them from the time they were 11 until he was 18. Every single girl on that team went to a Division I school, except for I think 2 or 3 of them who didn't want to go. And we're talking about Florida, Minnesota, Iowa State, West Virginia, South Dakota State. I mean, all over the place, and some outliers that you ordinarily wouldn't see. What's my point? You had heavy parent involvement at that point too, and a club that sort of didn't have all the bureaucratic levels where they were able to manipulate that. Second group I think of is just a couple of groups that I've been involved in. It's the Isabel Garcia age group. Now, they went through the club process, but they were searching for different things. The parents of that group were all kind of thinking like, hey, we got to do more. We got to do a little bit more. They had a little bit more influence on charting their kids' career futures. Then I think of, if I want to bring it back to the modern day sort of time now, we've got Ben Harshbarger, who, and I coach his daughter Maya now at Dowling, but when they were 10 or 11, they were like, well, we want to have a little bit more control over what our kids do. And so they came to actually us and Kick It Forward and said, hey, will you guys help us? So we gave them some seed money. We started a subsidiary, Kick It Forward, and then they partnered with Rockford. And so for in the period of time when they were, 10 to 14, they had a lot of influence over what they did. And so what we're seeing now is one of the girls in the team there, in Olivia Rodich, is an Iowa State commit. Another girl, I think is her name, Arissa Robinson. She's going to TCU. Brie Cougar's getting looks. She'll commit at somewhere. Maya Harshbarger's getting looks. She'll commit somewhere. Adeline Kruska's another player who I think maybe is a Centennial player. She'll get some good looks. But they did something a little bit different to sort of form and chart their own. So I think for me, this is my opinion. If you want to have a go at really getting yourself in the best environment moving forward, I think it's got to be tailor-made for you. And so that's just my observation that I would say that I think history has repeated over time.
So now
I don't want to be last.
So now to wrap a little bow on it, I think what you just said there, and then what Lance has said, really talking about how ultimately what you're trying to do is empower the boys, the players to, essentially forge their own path. And if they want to go do it, they're going to have the tools and the capabilities, and you're just there to kind of get them in the right place at the right time. Yeah. Is it possible in every scenario? No, but to me it seems like you guys you're in the right direction. It's a big, scary world out there in the soccer space. There's a lot of things to weigh and think about, and we're just here trying to get give you an hour or two of some of our thoughts. a lot of experience sitting up here. I'm sure we're going to ruffle some feathers. So sorry in advance because it's not meant to hurt anyone's feelings. I think we're just trying to figure out how do we move this forward, and ultimately, how do we get everybody on a similar page? Maybe not the same page, but a similar page. Siebes?
If you want on the pod, reach out. Let's do it.
We're taking
here.
requests apparently.
Oh no! Wait, hey, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Yep. And then
No, honestly, like we got probably more feedback from the last podcast we ran than we've ever had before. I think we love it. We love the positive feedback. We love the negative feedback, the constructive criticism, however you want to put it. We love it when you guys come after us on social media as well. It sort of feeds us and keeps us going, right? Because we want to have these discussions. So to anyone who engaged with us, thank you. We hope you follow us. We hope you keep on engaging with us, whether you like us, whether you don't like us, whether you just like talking, about us behind our backs. We love it all.
Well, it's called Soccer Talk for a reason. Because if we weren't sitting here talking soccer, we'd be sitting somewhere else talking soccer. So we'll see you again for the next one.